Hey everyone, it's Miss Fusaro here, and I wanted to go over with you the senior portfolio requirements. And this is important because this is the main way that you're going to be assessed in our class, God's Monsters in the Apocalypse. So I wanted to make this video. This way you had an opportunity to go back and forth and revisit it and understand it. This way, if you have any questions. The first thing to note is that the senior portfolio is your culminating assessment for the duration of the entire year. Because this is a year-long course, this is the perspective that we are taking when it comes to the portfolio itself. You're going to continue to build and add into the portfolio with 4 progressive checkpoints throughout the year. Please note that everything counts. However, your portfolio's value will continue to grow throughout the year, and that's what I mean by progressive. So at each checkpoint, you're going to need to include work products to demonstrate your mastery of the standard. So, as you're going to see that this is also a hyperdoc, this way you can go ahead and click on mastery of the standards and you'll see exactly what the standards are for the entire year. So you'll see I have it set up as 6 major power standards. I call them. The power standards are reading nonfiction and informational texts, and below the power standard are learning targets. So it's like much more specific to that particular power standard. Same thing, standard 2, composing nonfiction, all the targets associated with that. Standard 3, reading fiction and literature. 4, composing fiction. 5, developing speaking and listening skills. 6, employing grammar, style, mechanics, and vocabulary. So, the goal for the entire year is that you will master every single one of these learning targets by the end of the year. That is the goal. You will master them. Okay, so if we're thinking about in the terms of mastery grading, there's not yet, which means, you still, you can keep working on it. Then there's developing. You're getting a little bit better. Approaching means you're getting close to illustrating mastery. And mastery, it means you totally have it. You could teach it to someone else. That's basically how you can determine the difference between approaching and mastery. Mastery is you are able to turn around and teach it to somebody else. So this don't be intimidated. These are the goals for the entire year. All right. So what that means is in each different part of each different checkpoint, as you're going to see, for the portfolio, you need to have items that demonstrate your mastery for those particular power standards. For example, the first one is going to be in November. A specific date will be determined. We'll figure out based on how the marking period is going to go. That's more or less like how I'm going to work that. You need to put inside of the portfolio by that point work products that demonstrate your mastery of standards 2 and 6. Okay, throughout our working together from now through November, I will give you different assignments that will have you practice those standards. So probably touch on different standards too, but at least practice definitely those 2 power standards and the learning targets that are associated with those power standards. The thing with the portfolio is you get to choose which assessments you would like to include in your portfolio. So that means it could be a bigger paper, like for example, the fairy tale paper, that's a bigger assignment you could put in there, or it could be smaller things like I'll have questions on Google Classroom, like a discussion thing, or perhaps I'll have you guys like work on something together as a team, some document, whatever you want to put in your portfolio to prove that you have mastered those standards. In the meantime, how you're going to build that portfolio. Okay. You're going to actually use Google Sites in order to build that portfolio. You're going to go to Google Sites using your SI Tech domain. You could use the little waffle area and you're going to build a Google site. I'll go over this a little bit more in, as the year goes on, but it's really easy to use. That's why I actually asked you guys to do it this way. Plus it is naturally aesthetically pleasing. It's professional. You could use it for college when you're trying to demonstrate the work that you're doing. To give you an example, I'm going to show you a sample of my personal portfolio on Google Sites, and you could click through. There's like videos. There's different things that you could see. Link to my work, my about me, references, blah blah blah. My LinkedIn, the class blog, which we'll get into, syllabi, which I'm going to update for this year, all these different things. Yours is going to be the portfolio of your work and however you want to aesthetically set that up. What you are going to do though with the Google Sites is once you create it, you are going to also share it with me the same way. So I'm going to open it up from the back end here and I'll show you what I mean. So you're going to turn around and share this with me to make me an editor. Okay, you're going to make me an editor also of your Google site, and I'm asking you to actually make me an editor for on two different emails, my SI Tech email and my school's my DOE email. Okay, once you get to that point, no problem. But for now, just understanding what's involved in there, how it's progressive. Okay, so the next checkpoint will be at the end of the term in January. At that time, you're going to be expected to have work products that demonstrate 1, 2, 3, and 6. Yes, you may keep the work products that you used for 2 and 6 if you were happy with your grade that I gave you at that point. If you want to keep working on those items to do better, of course. If you like, I did great, I'm good, you could leave that in there to the point where you get to the final checkpoint, and that's in June, where I'm going to expect to see all of the standards addressed in the portfolio and a link to at least one of your blog posts. Finally, as well, you will also share the link to your portfolio in this form. Okay, so you're going to fill out once you set up your portfolio, you're going to set up the portfolio and you're going to paste the link in this Google form. Yes, it's editable just in case you need to, but this is my way of keeping track of links to all your different portfolios. You will also, at the end of each checkpoint, so you're going to include it with your checkpoint. Kind of think of it as like a cover sheet in a way. You're going to put a reflection, okay? A reflection to accompany your portfolio, which answers this main question. Using evidence from our standards and your work products, explain how your chosen assessments demonstrate mastery. You're going to have 4 separate reflections by the final checkpoint, one for each checkpoint. Each reflection should build on your further growth. So you're maintaining that growth mindset, showing us how you're developing over the course of the year, what you're learning, how that learning is compounded, how it's influenced your thinking. You doesn't have to be isolated in the class itself. You could think outside of your influence, its influence on you as a student, a global student, a digital citizen, so on and so forth. Now, how does everything count while we are working in a portfolio world? So, the assessments that we're collecting throughout the various points of the year will each have their own various deadlines. Each assessment will be graded and counted, but won't have a maximum impact. It's actually going to have a much more minimal impact because you're going to be able to use those things again when you go put it in your portfolio. So, like, without using specific numbers because it's going to vary, I might post a question on Google Classroom that I'm going to read and assess. I'll read it and assess it, but it won't count that much because you could possibly again use it in your portfolio. So everything else is going to be counted, like your fairy tale paper. I'm going to count it, but it's going to be minimal compared to the weight of your portfolio. In that process, you can revise, edit, work with your teammates, have writing conferences with me. That's what we're going to really use as our time together live or our time together on Zoom, really like for conferences and working together to improve our overall work products so that you could use these things for your portfolio if you want to. If you have any questions about how the portfolio is going to work for this year, please send me an email. You see both of my email addresses are up here. I do prefer you use the DOE one just because it's a little bit more official. Thank you so much.